Hey everyone, Zach here, and welcome to the 6th lesson of the C++ tutorial series, where we will continue to go over our conditional statements, focusing on if, else if, and our while loops. That said, we will just be going over the program we wrote for this week, so that we can explore each line together and the logic in putting it together. At the end of the lesson, I will have a challenge in relation to next week's tutorial. That said, open up your IDE of choice, and let's get started. As you can see, we have our program up and running already, and we have a very rude computer saying, "You're not even smart enough to guess what my favorite number is, and it's not even greater than the number of fingers you have." Okay, small logical issue in my writing now that the number is at least 58, or at most 58. So I'm going to put my first guess in. Let's see what I get. I'm going to do 55, actually. You're very close, you silly backwards human. So I'm close to the correct answer. I'm just going to pick a number that I know isn't anywhere near correct then. I'm going to pick 50. And I have a different response for an answer that's farther away. So let's try 56. Let's try 57. All right, it's 54 then. And, I get 54. I get told the answer is correct. I can't believe you got it. You've guessed right. 54 is indeed my favorite question. Yeah, so let's set that up together. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through everything we did in the last challenge and in this challenge together. We're doing it, the last challenge stuff again, simply because you guys didn't see me write it out. You didn't see the process as it happened, just the explanation. So I'm going to close this out, and I'm just going to go to my project. Oh, as you can tell, I've changed my settings to do so. You can do that by going to Tools, Options, and then in Options, you can change your theme in general. So I have the dark color on now. That's all I've done. All right, so we're going to create a new project. All right, easiest way to do that. I'm going to go to File, New Project. And it will be a Windows C++ console application. It will be Challenge 2, and I'm just going to put YT at the end for YouTube. It will be part of this current solution. And you can see what solution's part of already. Alright, so let's go ahead and create that. Alright. And as you can see, it creates a new file for us. Let's go directly into our file and delete the stuff we do not need. So now we've deleted that. We can delete this original header, and I can close out these extra files at top here. So as always, the first thing I really want to do now that I've done that is to actually put a comment back in at the top here saying what this project is going to be about. So this project, if I just use the multi-line commenting system, there we go. This project is a simple console-based guessing game written for a YT tutorial video. Its purpose is to show how to demonstrate basic control structures, including while loops and if-else conditions. Alright, I hopefully won't have any more verbose comments like that. Alright, so let's get rid of this hello world. Let's add our return 0 in instantly. Alright, so what do we need? Well, the elements we have, let's just quickly make some comments about the elements we need. Elements needed. So 1, we need a challenge. Yes, add a number. to do that, what do we need? We need a cout. We need a random number. And a way to check if that number is correct or not. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with that aspect of it, which is pretty much the last challenge, I realize. So the first thing we need to do is we need to, well, create a random number then. Or actually, let's create the challenge first. Let's do the framework of it. So, in terms of framework, we need the computer to challenge the person. So I'm going to do the standard cout, and then what I'm going to post out is, hey, human, let's play a game. Take a guess at my favorite number. Hint. Oh, not hint. Not hunt. Sorry. Hint. It is between 1 and 10. And then I will do a end line. If you prefer the sorry, I should have been in the wrong spot there. If you prefer the stroke n option inside the text, so if you prefer this option, go for it. There is no difference between using the two of these and the effect it has. Alright, so we also know we're going to need an ability to put a response in. So let's do that. Let's do standard console in, and then we need a variable. So let's just name this variable as guess. So we also need to declare this variable. Let's do so at the top of this main function here, and that'll be int. So type integer, and we've already named it guess. So we'll just do that there as guess. And in fact, I'm actually going to initialize this with a C++ type 11 construction. All right, so there we go. Now we have that set up. But we also need a way for us to get what that number between 1 and 10 is going to be. Yeah, we could hard code it and make it 2 or 3 or whatever we wanted. But we want this to be a bit of a challenge. So every time the player logs in, there'll be a new number they have to guess. So to do so, we're going to need to create a random number. And to do that, we're going to need the C standard library, the C time library, and the C math library. So let's just make our includes. So include C standard library, include our C time library, and we're only going to use the C time library in order to get our random seed. I do not know what that was. Oh, there it goes. Okay, and then include our C math library. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do then after we start this main function and above our declaration is we're actually going to create our random seed. So sran for our random seed, and we are going to use the time function, which comes from the C time library. It's actually the time constructor, sorry, and we will pass through a null on this, and so this will set our random seed based on the computer's internal clock as pulled by the CMath include, or as I pulled it by the CMath, which we get from that include at the top there. All right, so what do we want to randomize? We're not going to randomize guess. We want to randomize the favorite number. So let's create a number, and that will be our int number, or actually let's just call it favorite number like we did before. Favorite number. And again, I'm going to initialize this as 0 to start with. I love how Visual Studio will add the spaces in if I do that right away, but not for the other one. Those spaces are not needed, by the way. That's why I haven't bothered about correcting the top one. All right, so we will do a random number, and our random number will be using this material that we have set up. So what we're going to do That what we'll do is we will create a random number. So we're going to take that favorite number again, and now we are going to declare what it is. So we are going to set it as being equal to rand, which comes from our C standard library. And we will not pass anything into the constructor. However, we will use a modulus operator. Now I described modulus, of 100 as being a division. It is the whole number, the remainder of the division. So that's why you get that repeating pattern of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1 when you actually use it with a 10. And then we'll add 1, so it becomes a range of 1 to 10. All right, so now that we have the favorite number and the number to be guessed, we need a way to see if it's right or wrong. So first, what we're going to do is create a while loop. So while an argument, which goes in here, is valid, then do what's in these braces down here. So what argument do we want to pass into here? Well, we want this loop to continue if the value that the person guesses is not equal to the favorite number. So we'll just put that in. Guess not equal favorite number. So while the guess is not equal to the favorite number, we are going to get a different response. Let's put a dummy response in and test that out. Make sure this works correctly. So it'll be a standard library, cout. That guess, and let's just add that in, what that number is. Guess is not correct. Also, notice again the spacing I'm using after the comma there and before the I and is. Try again. And then we'll add actually a semicolon in. And then see standard library end line. Again, you can use the stroke n if you want. However, again, we also need to include a way for a person to put a response in. So otherwise, it'll just run through this infinitely, and you will get an infinite loop. And this will override our earlier guess when they do it. We also need to do what if they're right. So let's just quickly put that in. And that'll be standard library from IOStream, cout. Wow, you guessed correctly. Semicolon. Again, space. And we're going to use favorite number just to be on the safe side. Should be on the safe side, we should use guess. Is my favorite number. Again, standard library end line. Sorry, I was moving back because I saw a mistake. And that mistake is I forgot to include the brackets this way. So let's go ahead and test this. So we're going to, first, before we actually do anything, we're going to select by right-clicking the project, and we're going to set this as our startup project. And then we will build our solution. All right, now that our solution is built, let's run it on the local debugger, see if it works. Hey, human, let's play a game. Take a guess at my favorite number. I'm going to try 9. That guess, 9, is not correct. Actually, there should probably be a comma after that. I'll do that in a second. Try again. Try 8. 8 isn't correct. Try again. 7. 7 isn't correct. 6. 5. 5 is my favorite number, so we know it's working. Okay. I'm just going to put a comment in here just so it doesn't look as weird. So let's just put a quick explanation of this while loop. So while the user's guess is not equal to the favorite number, run the material or run the statements listed below. So while this statement is true, so while it's true the guess is not equal to the favorite number, run the statement below. Otherwise, it's going to skip to the end of the code and run what's after the end of the statement. So that takes care of, we need a random number and a way to check if it's correct or not. The other part of the challenge included having a hint. Was the person near the correct number or not? So what we need for that are if and if else statements, or actually conditions. The statements will follow those conditions. So let's quickly add those in, and they'll be inside of this loop. We will ignore that code for a minute. We're going to actually come back and use part of it. And what we're going to do is we are going to, well, we need to figure out how far away, so in terms of this element, what else we need to figure out? How far the correct answer is from the guess, or how far the guess is from the correct answer. So what we're going to do is we're going to, inside this loop, we're going to create a new variable that will get redeclared every time we run the loop. So that'll be int, so for integer, and it'll be differences between values. And again, I'm going to initialize this just simply at 0 to start with. And then I'm going to declare what this really is. So it'll be difference between the values. And I'm going to use something from the CMath library. So this is why I've included the CMath library. And that's going to be standard. And it's going to be the ABS command, which stands for absolute. And absolute, if you don't remember, means that you can't get a negative return value. This will just make our life slightly easier. So if the favorite number, for example, is 5 and the person guesses 6, depending on the math you do, you'll either end up with a 1 or a -1. So they're one space away regardless of it's negative or positive. We only care about how far away from the number they actually are. So the easiest way to do that is to do, and use this absolute feature. So we'll do favorite number subtracted by, or subtracted by our guess. All right, why are we getting? Curly brackets gone there. All right, so now that we have the difference between our favorite number and the guess, so how far away that value is, and I'm just gonna put a note in here. Absolute comes from the CMath library. So now that we have that difference, we can do our if statement. So we want to know. Oh, I didn't show you one of the features in the earlier version of this. So we're actually going to do this a little bit differently. So one of the features I want to include is if the guess is greater than or less than the range given. So let's first deal with those ones. So what we'll do is, since we said the max is 10, we'll just do a simple if statement up here of if guess is greater than 10. So this is greater than 10, so it hits 11 or more. This alternatively could have been written as greater than or equal to 11, and you'd have the same effect. I just prefer greater than 10 because it's the same number that's up here. It just is easier for me to remember what my number should be. We're going to do a standard console out, and we're going to just have guess space, actually I didn't put that in, is greater than 10. Guess again. And then again, my standard end line. And then again, we'll need a way to put a response in. So standard console in. And also, it would be helpful if I put the right command in, console in, and that would be guess. We have the next statement we need to worry about, which is, or the next condition we need to worry about, which is if the number is less than 1. And I actually am going to do this the different way. I'm going to do guess is less than or equal to 0. And the reason I'm doing this is, actually no, there's no particular reason. It just makes it slightly easier for you to remember that it's going to include 0 in there as well. That's the only reason I've done it this way. So C standard out. And we'll do, again, guess. That's the issue with this one. That should be a capital G. Guess is, so space is less than 1. Guess again. And it will be, again, our standard end line. I'm sure you're getting tired of me saying that. And we can just copy that. We can just have that in our copy and paste buffer the entire time if we need. Alright, so now that if we guess greater or less than 10 or less than 1, we will get a error saying, hey, we've picked a number not in the correct range. So, we'll test that in a minute after we get the sort of hint system set up. So in our hint system, the part that I was talking about up here, we're going to use a space of 2 digits. So if your 2 values greater or less than the actual number, it's going to say, hey, you're close, but not quite there yet. If it's greater than 2, it's going to shoot back. Well, it's going to shoot back that, that number is not close. All right. And let's just do our next statement, which will be, again, an else if. And we will use that variable we declared up here, this difference between values. So difference between values. And we will do less than or equal to 2. So if it's within 2 digits or 2 integers of the correct value, we'll do our C standard out. I don't want to keep saying C standard. It's just the IOStream library, not the C standard library. It's because there's the C in the word console out. And we'll do that guess is very close, but not that guess. Actually, comma, space. I want to put the number back in there just so, again, the user has this, hey, I actually am looking at the number you put in kind of thing. Is close, but not correct. Try again. I've been doing a colon the entire time. We'll do a colon here as well. And then, again, our end line, and we can paste in that line. And then next, we will need an else, and not else if. Actually, no, we'll do else if, sorry. Else if, and then difference between values is greater than 2. Now, the reason why there isn't an overlap between these is this starts at 3. It's equal to or greater than 3. This is less than or equal to 2, so the 2 value is included in this one. And we will just have a very similar line of standard C out, that guess, and then put our guess up on the screen for them, or their guess up on the screen for them. Actually, I haven't really done that. I may just fix that mistake as well. Is nowhere near close. Guess again. And then it'll be standard end line. Paste that in. Now, I am going to include this last bit here from our original version as the else. And then we really don't need this, but I am including it simply because if something goes wrong in this while loop, I want there to be a backup. And this is my backup at the very end here. So let's test this out. Let's build our solution. All right, now that our solution is built, let's test it. I'm going to purposely put a number in that's too big, so 13. 13 is greater than 10. Negative 1. Negative 1 is less than 1. 0. 0 is less than 1. All right, let's try 5. 5 is nowhere near close. Try again. Let's try 6. Try 7. Okay, so we have a slight issue. Where it should have been saying at 6 that we were close. Oh, sorry, that is close, but not correct. Try again. All right, I didn't read that properly. So we have at 5, that number is nowhere near close. At 6, that guess is close, but not correct. At 7, again, that we're close, but not correct. At 8, you've now, while you've guessed correctly, 8 is my favorite number. So that's working. Now, you saw a different version of this when you saw me do it. You saw this random number being slightly variable. So let's play with that a bit. Let's see what we can do. So if we want to make our random number different, we need to consider a few things. Well, first we need to consider the fact that we need to remember to change this number and any other comment we have in the text to match up. And we also need to be able to set a range. So if we set actually, let's think about it this way. If we create a new random number, let's just say we want to make it between 1 and 100, we're just going to add that extra 1 in there. Now that's a fairly large area for a guess to occur in, right? So what we want to do is we want to sort of help the user along. We want to give them a bit of a hint. And what we'll do for that is we are going to create a new set of random sort of variables we'll use that will go up on the screen for the user to see. So what we're going to do is we're going to create something known as, well, I'll call it a random cap. So that'll be int random cap. And, oops, sorry, let me do it that way, which will initialize again as a 0 value using a C++11 constructor. And I'm going to do random cap rand, and then 10 plus 1. So again, it'll create a range between 9 and 1. Actually, well, I'll explain why I've done this later. I'm doing this slightly backwards. So we'll ignore the fact that I've done that for a minute. We can just change this value to 100 right away. But that creates a little bit of an issue. Once if you have values that are going to end up being, greater than 100. Once you have values that are going to be between 1 and 50 instead. It's easier, instead of changing that, to put in a max value here. So what we'll do is we'll create a max value to be put in, and that max value is going to run into some issues. So we will do at the very top as well, a new declaration. So we will initialize and declare and initialize a random max number. We will set this to 0. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, pass through our random number. We're going to take our random max number. Random max number. And we're going to pass through our favorite number. Now, clearly we can't put that up there because that would just say we'll know if it's, greater than 10 instantly. Hey, it's that number. Go with that number. So this is where that random cap comes in. We're going to add in this random cap. So the max number is now our favorite number plus a random number between 0 and 10. Or sorry, between 1 and 10. And let's just put that in here instead. We'll get rid of this. Put a space in. Put those nice little arrows in. Make sure they're facing the correct direction. Put that in as well. And actually, we don't need that space there. Alright, so what we're passing through here is a reference to that cap. So let's do our random max number. Let's build and test this. Oh, I forgot to put the that there. Sorry about that. Let's try that again. Random max number, undefined. Alright, if you get this issue, just cheat like I am and copy and paste. Alright, there are all three definitions all three are highlighting, so that should work. There we go. Let's test it. Between 1 and 66. So let's try 55. Okay, so now we have another issue we need to consider. Our number is no longer accurate. So what we need is to change out this bit in here. Now, this last bit, this 0 or less than or equal to 0, is always going to stay the same because we're always setting this minimum as 1. So we will take this last bit and we will do our random number max. All right, let's try that version of it. Do 63, 64, 61. Let's make sure we can actually get a value that's right. So 73. I'm actually going the wrong direction. 73, 72, 71, 70, 69. So it'll be 68. There we go. So it is working there. That is working perfectly fine. Let's actually just test that to make sure when we get a number. 25. Let's try 26. So 26 is greater than, and then we need to change out this 10 as well. And we will put in our random max number there as well. So it is greater than our random max. Guess again. All right. So if we keep doing this, eventually you'll run into an error where you'll get a number that will clearly be, you know, if it's a number under 10, by the way, it'll clearly be, hey, it's this value. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another if statement, and we're going to create that just under here. So if our our favorite number is greater than or equal to 10, then we want the random max to be the favorite number plus our random cap. Else, we want our random max number to be equal to 10. So if it is 1 through 10, oh, there's a slight error there. This actually should be, sorry, if it's 1 through 9, then it's going to list the max as 10. In fact, let's make sure that it's always going to happen that way. Just change that out. Run the debugger. That will always return a false because it will never be that case. All right, and let's just try 44. Oh, we need a space there. Is greater than, and put that space in. All right, that kind of concludes what we need to do. This is line for line, nearly the same version as what I did for my test, except for I think this adds a couple of extra lines to it. Now it's line for line, the same thing. So, outside of some wording differences. So that said, we're going to continue next week with more flow control and structural commands to get the basic logic we need to consider out of the way. We will then, after that point, move on to arrays and talk about our class types and then our constructors, and then finally we'll get our way into doing this with Unreal-based material. So that said, I'm going to issue the challenge now, and I will see you guys next week. So the challenge this week is to create a game where the user and computer, unbeknownst to each other, both pick a random number. The computer will then begin a countdown from a max value to a minimum value. Whomever entered the higher number will win. So some things you need to consider, or things you'll need to look up to be able to do this. You'll need to look up a for loop, because that will be the loop you need to run to get part of this to work. You'll need a break statement and a continue statement for each of the possible outcomes. And you also need to consider what happens if both the user and computer pick the same number. And some other things I want to add in. Yes, I know that this is a stupid sounding game. You know, just beyond being generally not fun sounding, if you say, hey, the max value is going to be this, the user can pick that. Well, you know, maybe program it so the computer, quote unquote, cheats if the user does that. You know, go, hey, I can play that game too. I picked the same value. That's why I said consider what happens if they pick the same value. Also, remember, while this might be a very stupid sounding game, I'm not going to, again, lie about that.
The skills that you're using to do this will be the same skills for other games you might need to make, like dice games or casino games like blackjack. You'll be using the same loops, you'll be using the same statements, you'll be using the same sort of material. Also, these skills will directly relate to more advanced materials we'll cover later in the series. If you're taking my RTS tutorial series, the for loop is the loop we have used the most often in that series, just to give you an idea. That said, I hope you guys have fun with this challenge, even if it is a stupid game. Feel free to leave any comments or suggestions for future projects for these sort of challenges, because I have to say the hardest part of writing this series is coming up with challenges for you guys that aren't too hard and aren't too boring. Something that makes sense for you guys to do and that's fun to do as well. If you like this video, go ahead and smash that like button. It lets me know I'm bringing you content you appreciate, and it helps get this channel and this tutorial series out to people who might not know it exists. And as always, I hope to see you in the next lesson. And until then, I hope that you have a wonderful day.